about to go down. I said, y'all, it's about to go down.
What's going on, YouTube? What's going on? This your boy Steve Belcher, Executive Director of Urban Health Outreach Media. What's going on? Thank you for tuning in. Tonight, I'm going to be talking about emergency takeoff, things to consider. Now, you may want to consider this really if you're a kidney warrior doing in-center hemodialysis, or you have a family member, or you're a caregiver of someone that's doing in-center hemodialysis. Have you ever thought about if an emergency happens in the clinic and there's not enough staff, who's going to take you off dialysis? Who's going to take you off? If there's short of staff that particular day, an emergency happens like a fire or some type of disaster, who's going to rinse your blood back and clamp the lines and disconnect you and get you out of the unit? Especially if you have a loved one that's in the wheelchair. What if your mom, your dad, one of your loved ones is in a wheelchair? You take them to dialysis, right? And you leave and wait for the car to come pick them up, and say something happened at the unit, a fire breaks out, something where they have to evacuate the unit immediately. And let's say your loved one has sight impairment, or they can't hold those clamps because of diabetes or some other arthritic type of condition. Who's going to take them off and clamp the lines? Who's going to clamp this line on the needle cannula? Who's going to help them clamp that? The snap it clamp. So this show is to talk about it and show you what takes place and who's supposed to be where when this is happening. So you definitely got to practice this. If you're a kidney warrior, with people have probably been around, ask you, do you know about the emergency takeoff, and show you. But what you want to do is practice, right? Not during your treatment, but when you can, clamping these lines to make sure, open it up to make sure you're able to clamp it. Also, normally most units have an emergency pack where they have some clamps in it. Practice reaching for the scissors or the emergency bag on the machine if you can. Show the PCT where you would cut the lines. Okay, so if you need to immediately get out, right? Let me get my line. So if this right here, this is the venous line, right? This is the venous return line. Now this is the end of it. Excuse me. So now this is the needle connected to the line, right? You see this clamp right here? Is a clamp on this line, and then here's a clamp. You want to be able to make sure if you got to cut the line, right? You want to make sure you clamp this. If you can't get this off, clamp this, cut here, and make sure you clamp there so you don't lose your blood. You want to make sure this is clamped before you clamp there. right? Now, you want to do that to avoid blood loss. Cut the thicker bloodline, not the narrow bloodline. This leaves the needle intact, making it easy for personnel to connect the line to saline. So you don't want to pull that needle out, right? You just want to clamp or cut between that line so you can get out of it. In a true emergency, again, do not remove the line. Do not remove the tape at your needle site. Only remove tape that prevents you from leaving your chair, right? That attaches to the machine. If the machine alarms while you're trying to get out during a true emergency, ignore it. Ignore it. So, emergency takeoff tool. Step 1, clamp. Close clamp on each needle line, right? There are 2 clamps, right? 2 needle lines. And that shows you that with the here, right here. Clamp right here on the line coming from the and the clamp that's on the needle, right there. Close clamp on each bloodline. And there are 2 bloodlines, the venous and the arterial, that have that thick clamp. 2, cut. Cut between the clamps, which I had mentioned right here. You want to cut right here. If you have to cut with scissors to get out, cut right there. Now, remove the tape that connects you to the machine so you can move to a safer area. And with that, I mean that all that is to emergency takeoff. But my questions are, if your loved one can't clamp the lines to the machine and the staff is busy, who's going to help your loved ones get out of that unit if it's an emergency? Who's going to help them? So that's why it's important for you to know about emergency takeoff tool. Practicing and showing your loved ones where the clamps are on the lines. So this, again, emergency takeoff is very important to know if you have to evacuate the dialysis unit because of an emergency, fire, natural disaster, whatever the case may be. You just never know. So I was trying to look, I'm only on here like 10 minutes. I'm trying to find something else to talk about. Let me see. I talked about anemia today. Yeah, all my other let me see, information is behind me, and I don't feel like moving my green screen and go. So I think it's gonna call it quits. I may come back on in a minute with another topic, but this is what we do. This is what we do, the education. We just need the support, people to come to our YouTube pages, support us, share it, participate in the discussions. That's what we need. We had tons of information. I just finished talking about consent form. So again, thank you guys for watching. This is Steve Belcher with Urban Health Outreach Media. with a quick look at emergency takeoff, what you need to know. God bless you and take care.
Y'all, it's about to go down. I said y'all, it's about to go down.